The hospital room was silent, save for the soft, repetitive beep of the machines keeping hope alive. Tubes, wires, a ventilator. The sterile chill of the ICU clung to Brooke's skin. But it was nothing compared to the cold running through her blood. She had come in as a mother, frantic, determined to do anything to save her daughter. The doctors needed blood. Hers. There was no hesitation. Brooke Logan would give everything to save Hope. But what she wasn't prepared for was the look on the nurse's face after they ran the blood compatibility test, the hesitation, the confusion, and then the words that would tear her entire world apart. The blood types don't match. Ms. Logan, you're not a biological match for Hope. It hit like a gunshot. Brooke didn't believe it, couldn't believe it. Not her Hope. The baby she'd cradled, nurtured, fought for. Her little girl. Her daughter. But science didn't care about sentiment. The facts were brutal and clear. She was not Hope's biological mother. Her knees gave out. The nurse caught her just in time, guiding her to a chair as the world spun violently off axis. She didn't hear the rest of what the nurse said. About paperwork, further testing, or alternate donors. She couldn't. Her ears roared with a silence more deafening than any scream. In the next room, the woman she'd raised was unconscious, hovering between life and death. And now, out of nowhere, a deeper death had arrived, the death of certainty. The death of motherhood. The news spread quickly among the staff, and before long, it reached Ridge. Brooke watched him from the other end of the hallway. He stood with his arms crossed, his face blank, unreadable. He wasn't frantic. He wasn't even surprised. There was no tremor in his voice when he asked the doctor about Hope's condition. There was no confusion when he looked at Brooke. Just a calm detachment that suddenly made her stomach twist. Because Ridge knew. Brooke stormed toward him, her voice already cracking from fury. You knew, she hissed, jabbing a finger into his chest. You've known this entire time, haven't you? He didn't deny it. That infuriating stillness, that arrogant calm he wore like a mask, made it worse. I suspected, he said flatly. Years ago, but I didn't see the point in opening wounds that were already healed. Brooke reeled. Healed? You let me raise a child that wasn't mine. You let me believe she came from me. That she was mine to love and protect. What kind of man does that? Ridge glanced toward Hope's room. Then looked back at Brooke with a gaze colder than she'd ever seen. The kind of man who didn't want to see you destroy yourself over something you couldn't change. Brooke's hands shook as she tried to make sense of the madness. Then whose child is she? She demanded. If not mine, whose? Ridge said nothing. And that silence spoke volumes. Brooke staggered back like she'd been punched. Her mind raced. The possibilities were few, but each one cut deeper than the last. There was only one person who could hurt her this much. Only one woman with the motive, the opportunity, and the history of cruelty. Taylor. The name exploded in her mind like a siren. It made twisted sense. Taylor had always wanted what Brooke had. Ridge. His loyalty. His love. His family. What if, all those years ago, in the chaos of childbirth, there had been a switch? A mistake? Or worse, a deliberate act? What if Hope, her Hope, had never truly belonged to her, but to Taylor? Brooke's memories came flooding back in fragments. The chaos of the maternity ward. The nurse who'd been transferred suddenly. The odd paperwork mix-ups no one questioned. At the time, she'd been too exhausted, too emotionally drained to think clearly. Now, every red flag waved like a warning she'd ignored. She turned on Ridge again, voice rising. Tell me the truth, damn it. Is Hope Taylor's daughter? Ridge didn't flinch. It doesn't matter now. What matters is Hope surviving. Brooke laughed, sharp, broken, bitter. No, you don't get to do that. You don't get to tell me it doesn't matter. I gave her my life. My soul. And all this time, I've been raising my enemy's child. The rage boiled over. She pushed past him, storming out of the hospital, leaving behind the machines, the doctors, the sterile smells, all of it. She needed air. She needed answers. She went straight to the source. Taylor was in her office at the clinic when Brooke burst in like a thunderstorm. The moment their eyes met, Taylor knew. Her expression faltered, just for a moment, but it was enough. You always were the better liar, Brooke spat. But not anymore. I know what you did. I know Hope isn't mine. Taylor said nothing. She closed the door slowly behind them, as if bracing for what was about to unfold. I didn't mean for it to happen, she began, her voice low, careful. Brooke's laugh cracked the air. You didn't mean to switch our babies? You didn't mean to let me raise your daughter while you stayed silent for over 2 decades? Taylor looked down, her fingers trembling. I thought it was for the best. After everything, after the losses, the trauma. You were falling apart. You weren't ready. And you stole her. Brooke screamed, eyes blazing. You let me raise her. Love her. And you stood by, knowing it was a lie. Every birthday. every graduation, every tear I wiped away. And now she's lying in a hospital bed. And I'm not even her mother. Taylor stepped forward, voice shaking. But you are. In every way that counts. No, Brooke roared. Don't you dare try to soften this. You robbed me of my life. Of the truth. And you made me love a lie. The two women stood, breathless, in a silence that pulsed with decades of hatred, betrayal, and devastation. Then Brooke's eyes narrowed. Does Hope know? She asked. Taylor hesitated. And that was the answer. She's going to find out, Brooke said darkly. And when she does, she'll never forgive either of us. Brooke left, her world in ruins, her heart shattered beyond recognition. But inside, something else had begun to form, something sharp and unforgiving. Revenge. She wasn't going to let this go. She couldn't, not after everything. Ridge, Taylor, the lies, the betrayal. She would burn everything down before she let them walk away from this. Hope eventually woke up days later, dazed and weak but alive. Brooke was by her side, holding her hand with the hollow gaze of a woman who no longer knew what she was holding. Hope smiled faintly. Mom? Brooke blinked. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to hold her and pretend everything was the same. But she couldn't. Not anymore. I'm here, she said softly. I'm right here. But the truth was already unraveling, thread by thread. And soon, Hope would know it all. The lies, the blood, the betrayal. And when she did, the fallout would be nuclear. Because Brooke Logan didn't lose. And when she was betrayed, she made damn sure everyone paid. The tension inside Forrester Creations was so thick it felt like breathing through smoke. Every corner of the office buzzed with barely contained emotion. Rumors spread like wildfire. Whispers carried from intern desks to executive suites. Ridge was done waiting. And this time, he wasn't just making noise, he was ready to act. His target? Luna Nozawa. Again. The woman had already shaken the family to its core. She had manipulated, lied, staged a fake pregnancy, deceived Bill Spencer and played on the vulnerabilities of the entire family. She escaped prison in a trail of blood, leaving a dead correctional officer behind. And now, despite it all, despite the crimes, the deception, the chaos, Bill Spencer was asking for more time. More answers. More clarity. But Ridge had had enough. He slammed the folder down on the table of the executive conference room, where top Forrester and Spencer members had gathered in an emergency meeting. His jaw was clenched, his voice sharp. She walked out of a maximum security facility and left a man dead. A man with a family. That alone should be enough to bury her behind bars for life. But we're still here, arguing, debating, pretending she deserves another chance at fairness. Bill, seated across from him, didn't flinch. His eyes burned with fury, not just at Ridge's words, but at what they meant for Hope, for Will, for his entire fractured world. His voice was low but deadly calm. We are not pretending anything. We are trying to find the truth. You want a rushed conviction. I want facts. I want to know if this whole damn thing was manipulated from the inside. She killed someone. Bill, Ridge snapped. This isn't about public opinion. This is about a monster on the loose. A monster? Bill shot back. You didn't call her that when she was sleeping under your roof, modeling for your brand, eating dinner with your family. That was before she conned all of us. Before we knew who she really was. And maybe we still don't, Bill said. That's my point. This thing stinks, Ridge. There are gaps, inconsistencies. I'm not defending her actions, I'm saying something doesn't add up. You don't get to push a conviction just to prove a point. The room grew colder. Katie looked between them, alarmed. Carter tried to interject, to steer things toward procedural logic. But Ridge was already grabbing a pen from his coat pocket and flipping open a manila envelope. Inside was a new motion of complaint. A legal push to revoke bail, escalate the charges, and reclassify Luna's crimes under more severe federal statutes. With his signature, it would all go into motion. I'm done waiting, Ridge said, signing the first page with an angry slash of ink. Every second she's out there, she's a threat. I won't risk another death. I won't watch another Forrester pay the price for someone else's mistakes. Neither will I, Bill growled. But if you're wrong, if you bulldoze this through and it backfires, you're not protecting anyone. You're blowing up the whole system. As the meeting dissolved into shouting, another figure stepped into the chaos. Steffy. She had arrived unannounced, holding her phone like a grenade. She'd been quiet for most of the battle, but now her face was pale, her voice deadly serious. Stop everything. Ridge turned. Steffy, not now. You need to hear this. She crossed the room and threw a thick binder on the table next to Ridge's half-signed complaint. I've been going over the documents. Every charge, every jurisdictional handoff, every court filing since Luna's escape. There's a problem. A serious one. What kind of problem? Carter asked, leaning in. Steffi pointed to a paragraph on the screen of her phone. This clause. When Luna was recaptured, the transport paperwork wasn't properly processed. According to state law, if a prisoner is moved across jurisdictional lines without correct documentation, and without being read her updated charges, her legal status defaults back to the previous custody state. Ridge's brows furrowed. So, Steffi continued, if you file this new complaint under the assumption that she's under California jurisdiction. But the original escape happened in Nevada, and they never properly transferred custody. This filing becomes invalid. Worse, it opens the door for her legal team to argue unlawful detainment. Bill stood up slowly. And if that happens, she walks, Steffi said. On a technicality, every charge, every indictment, it all gets thrown out. Ridge froze, the pen still in his hand. His jaw clenched. No, he said. No way. You're telling me that if I push this, if I move forward with this complaint, we could lose everything? I'm telling you that if you rush this without fixing the jurisdictional gap, Steffi said. You give her legal ammunition. Enough to stall or even derail the prosecution. That's what she's counting on. She wants you to overreact. She wants you to hand her a loophole. Silence crushed the room. Bill turned to Ridge. Still want to end this today? Or are you ready to admit that waiting might actually be the smarter move? Ridge's face twisted with frustration. The war inside him raged. His instincts screaming for swift retribution. His pride pushing him toward decisive action. But now even his daughter was warning him of the fallout. He threw the pen onto the table. Fine, we wait, but not forever. Bill stepped closer, voice dark. We wait until the truth comes out. All of it. And when it does, if Luna is guilty, I'll put her behind bars myself. Ridge didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the motion of complaint still sitting on the table, half signed, half dead. The war between Spencer and Forrester was far from over. But today, the truth had bought a little more time.